from the United States as well as all over Canada, I guess. Hey, Joe.
Yeah, we do. We do. So I'll tell you what, is now recording, Dean. You are
Excellent.
live. So now's the time to be politically correct. I know it'll kill you.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, here we are together again, part 4. I'm super excited. This is actually one of the highlights of my week, Dean, is not only hanging out with you, but just hearing
Sure.
some of the pieces that you share. You bring such a wealth of information, and again, with keeping with the series, the other side of the coin. I think sometimes we neglect those mental muscles.
Yeah.
Under that level of self-awareness. So I'm so grateful to hang out with you every Monday for an hour, because this is kind of like it's a crash course for me. It's a refresher for me. Things that I take for granted that you sort of allow me to recognize. So I just want to say thank you. I mean, from all of us. So here we are, my friend Dean, part 4 on will. Floor is yours, buddy.
Right on. Excellent. Well, again, as usual, you guys, I'm just thrilled. I mean, this is the highlight of my week as well, and it's getting to a point where I'm getting quite, I guess, comfortable to be able to come in and just start beaking off, because it takes a little while to start, I guess, recognizing that this is also a bigger picture event of our not just our careers but our lives, right? So I've done the real estate, and I'm still doing it, of course, but it's really important for me to help other people through what I didn't get figured out really well in the real estate part of my life, and that was the balance. So that's why we call it the other side of the coin. So again, I always like starting by doing a little bit of a recap about how all this comes down and start making sense. Because for those of you on the call, there's 3 so far. How do you walk into a call and understand we're just talking about the intellectual faculty of will? And that is what we're going to talk about today. And what's really interesting is today, I have a special treat today, more so than anything, and because it involves my family and some of this information. So we're going to do what's called the relationship test, and it was by far some of the teachings that was brought into my life from a program that I did around, I'm going to say 10 years ago. And it completely changed my relationship with my son. And I was able to take this exercise and create, I guess, a wealth of positive vibes in my life with other relationships that's in my life. And so I want to share that today. And sometimes it just takes me a few sessions to get into, and I have to feel it out about what I'm feeling the universe wants me to speak about. And so last week that was pretty strong for me. So today we're going to talk about that. So to do the little recap, we started out this whole series. It's called, the other side of the coin. And that just means this is all the things that we don't talk about when we're doing our real estate business in our life, usually. So this is the spiritual side of our personality that that we're talking about. And so it all started out is by, we ultimately become what we think about. And so we think with our minds. We created a picture of our mind to work with, and that included the conscious, the subconscious. And for those of you, those 3, again, feel free to call me anytime during the week. I'll stop it right there. Anybody, if you say, Dean, man, I want a refresher just one-on-one, my God, man, call me, because this is why I'm on the planet, right, is to help people. So be able to reach out to me and go, listen, explain to me about the subconscious and the conscious mind again, and how it affects how we feel. And when we can control how we feel, we can control the results that we're getting in our lives. So we're talking about just that. So we talked about, in our conscious mind, we are conditioned to react to certain situations, all based on see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. And these are hardwired into our conscious mind like little antennae, and that's how we live our lives. So we've introduced to this group the spiritual side of our personality, which is called our intellectual faculties. And so what we have been talking about, if we can control what it is that we're thinking by blending it with our intellectual faculties versus our sensory factors, we get to control how it is that we feel, which is another word for our conscious awareness of our vibration that we're in. And if we're in a good vibration, we're going to go on out and we're going to kill it in whatever aspect of life that we want to do. And so this is very much important to understand that this can be used around your family, and it can be used around anybody that you want to have a healthy relationship with. It's about learning, our first intellectual faculty was perception. And that's simply how we view things. Our ability to perceive things and keep it in a positive way by blending it with that, our thought, can control how it is that we're feeling about a certain situation. and then, we'll get better results. So that's a little bit of the recap about perception. The next one we talked about was imagination. And again, Thomas Edison said imagination was more powerful than knowledge. And so we have the ability in our conscious mind to imagine whatever life we want to have. And I mean, so we'll bring that back into your business as well. So whatever you want your business to look like, no matter what the results you're getting this very day, don't let that be your report card for your life. Allow your imagination to go wild and go on out and just imagine what you want a life to look like. Don't worry about the hows, you worry about your why. And again, we don't have to worry about it. Just understand what is your why. Read the book by Simon Sinek called The Why, Your Why. Call Joe. Joe came into our office once, and this is another value piece. Joe Moretti, this beautiful bearded man on the screen with 13 behind him there. I mean, he came into our office once, and he helped our own group decide how we needed to focus on what our whys are, so we could create our own mission statement. And so again, this is a beautiful thing. And when we had a mission statement, that helps you understand why we do what we're doing. And in my particular case, I love to create. My why is to create. Joe says, ask yourselves 5 why questions. And Joe, maybe put that off on the side if you don't mind, Joe. Make a note of that. That was so powerful for me. Your 5 why questions. Ask yourself why, and then you come right down to what it is. Maybe could be that bigger picture for you. So going back to again being able to talk about our intellectual faculties. These are the mental muscles that we have, and it's on our spiritual side. They're not tangible. You can't go up and you can't feel perception, but you know what it is. It's how you get to think about it. Perception, and so we had our imagination. And today, one of my goals was just talk about the will. And so that's going to be our intellectual faculty for today. So that's number 3 out of 6. So we introduced our mind, and we talked about also, if we're going to get from A to B, we'll have to raise our level of awareness, because the results that you're getting in your life this very moment is an expression of what we call your level of awareness. And so those 3, I would just want to back right into that again. All this stuff is new, and you're going to have an open mind to be able to look at all this. And the sign of an open mind is to be able to come in and throw away all your old conditioning in response to changing out for something new that's going to bring you to a better quality of life for you and your family. And so again, will this idea, so here, remember that was the question that we started using. Will this new idea bring me closer to my goal and improve the quality of my life and my family and my business? And I always say family first, because if you're in harmony with your family and you get that support, your business will be great. It's just going to be that way. But so that's why I always say that. So that's the sign of an educated person. They'll ask themselves a really good question. And so the quality of the question that you ask yourself would definitely produce the quality of the answer that you're looking for. If you want to get away with stuff and not have to worry or not have to work, ask yourself a stupid, easy question. The answer is going to be stupid and easy. You want to get some serious results in your life, ask yourself a really quality question. Will this idea bring me closer to my goal and improve the quality of my life? So that's really important. So this is what I'm going to talk about. We're talking about the intellectual faculties. And as we're doing this, we talked about it's so important for repetition. Repetition is the key to changing any of these paradigms that we have. And a paradigm is a group of habits that controls how it is that we live our lives. And if you feel that you're not getting the results that you want right now in your life, you're going to have to change up some paradigms or some habits. And so why we do repetition and why I'm going over this recap thing for a whole 10 minutes is because some of you, as you're hearing me right now, I might be triggering a thought in your brain, and all of a sudden you're off. Oh my God, this idea, I had an idea this morning. And so then you're off thinking about this idea, and I'm here yakking away. I'm the CD that plays in the background, but you're off on another idea. So you missed around maybe a minute and a half or 2 minutes of quality info, just like you could be if your CD was playing in your car, if you're playing an audiobook. You're driving along, and all of a sudden there's an idea comes, and now you're just dreaming about that marketing, how you're going to market that new property you just listed, what the strategy is going to be for the open houses and all that. And now next thing you know, it's 5 minutes later, you don't remember going through 4 sets of lights, but you stopped and you went on. You're conditioned to do that. And then you wake up and you missed around 7 minutes on the CD because you were gone somewhere else. So we ask you to play the CD over and over and over. And that's who I am today. I'm a CD player for you right now. So you play this over and over and over, because eventually you're not going to have that thought, and you're going to hear what we had to say, just like you're reading a book. So if that makes sense, that's why repetition is so key in changing up a paradigm and introducing a new idea to your life and your platform. So that's why that's important. And we talked about, it's called ADM, advanced decision making. Let's start making some of these decisions to engage your perception, become aware of what it is that you're thinking at all times, because what it is you're thinking ultimately is going to create what results you're getting in your life. So when we're in control of what we think, it just means that we're in control of how it is that we feel. And when we're feeling good right here in our subconscious, you don't have to worry about how things unravel. Because if you're feeling good, it's going to come out and you're going to act in a certain manner that you wouldn't otherwise. If you're feeling like crap that day, you're going to act like crap. And I saw Josh Haxton, a friend of mine, had one of those Instagram posts, and he says, if you want to feel good, eat stuff that's good. I mean, this is really simple stuff, but yet when I heard that, like eat like crap, feel like crap. And my God, that was such a simple little metaphor or whatever it's called. And I mean, it's so true. So, we want to bear that in mind as we're going forth here. So make a decision, to start living from these new mental muscles that we've introduced, and you're going to get different results in your life. And so I welcome anybody to certainly put down in the chat. And when that shows up, I'm not going to look at it. I'm going to look at Joe, but welcome any comments in the chats that you can say, listen, this week, I did engage my mental faculty of perception or imagination, and this is how I was feeling. So by all means, if it shows up, Joe, let me know and we'll share that, because I love that.
Sure.
So now the CD is going to move on to some new information. So the third aspect of our intellectual faculty, the third faculty, is will. And most people, when introduced to will, they'll think it's willpower. Joe, go ahead. The willpower is like, you're pushing against something, and it means, oh my goodness. But really, that's not about this at all. Will is our ability to focus. Now, when I say, we're going to get up early in the morning, we talked about raising our level of awareness through 4 things: a person, a place, a book, and an affirmation. So the place was getting up early in the morning. And that's when the universe is talking to us, and you have this new idea that's coming in. If you feel that you ask that right question about the idea, will this idea bring me closer to my goal and improve the quality of my life? Well, then we want you to now engage in the will. And that's not willpower. I'm talking about this ability to focus with the exclusion of all outside distractions. Write that one down. And I'll give you the example. The will to the mind is like a magnifying glass is to the sun. Understand that. You can take a magnifying glass and put it in front of the sun. You can be moving it away. Movie, there's nothing going on. But when you stop and harness the sun's energy through that magnifying glass, you can find an ant on the ground like we did when we were kids. I'm kind of peaceful these days, so I don't go around killing ants. But with a magnifying glass, you could find that ant and go, boom. Now that's what we're talking about when we're talking about the intellectual faculty of the will. Your ability to focus with the exclusion of all outside distractions. When you get on an idea that you love, focus on it, just like that magnifying glass, and harness that sun's energy. Harness what we have inside us, and let's get focused on it. Now, there's certain exercises, because a lot of us will say, most people on this call is real estate agents. And this is where the funny thing is, ADD, something round and shiny. See you later. Oh my God, I got a text, I gotta go. Something's dropped over here. Oh, my mother's calling. Like everything. And so when we start getting these ideas, and sometimes if the idea is not taking root for us, it's because we have this inability, or we haven't been conditioned to use this mental faculty, this mental muscle of the will. But now, after today, you're going to be aware of it. You're raising your level of awareness. You're raising your level of awareness, because now we have the will. So when you do get this idea, I also want now to stop and go, okay, what does it take for me to focus on this? Now we know we have it there. Again, I can't send you some will in the mail. I just can't. But understand, you know what it means, and it's our ability to focus. So then if I have a little exercise you can try at home. Actually, you can try it right on your computer right now if you want. There's the exercise is put a dot on the wall, or even my green light is on right now on my computer because it tells me that the camera's on. If you were to take a little dot and put it on the wall and sit at home in your chair as an exercise, and look at and stare at that dot right till you become one with the dot. you will then be able to increase your ability to focus. If you start doing that 5 minutes at night, and I've had to do it, guys. So this is, I only tell people about stuff that I've had to do. My focus was so not developed. My mental faculty of focus needs to be developed if we're going to grab an idea and move on to it. Because the only thing that grows is what we give energy to. So if you have an idea and you're only going to give a little bit, it's going to be like it's going to be like that magnifying glass with the sun. Now that's really important for us to know. And what happens is when you increase that amplitude of will, you're increasing that vibration. And so you remember what happens with that. So once we have that developed and you're able to take an idea and go in on it with everything that you want, like your life depended on it, you'll be feeling everything that you need to feel to move that into manifestation. And that's what this is all about. We're going to use our higher side, our spiritual side, to be able to manifest what it is that we want. Because remember what we talked about in the first couple of times, the way that we're going to move forward and get what it is, how we're going to use our mind to everything to the capability that it can be used. We need to introduce these intellectual faculties and blend them with our thought. And it's only through that mesh are we going to be able to control how it is that we feel. So now you understand that we have this ability to focus on an idea. And it only takes one idea to change a business. That's all it takes, one good one. And so I remember coming back from a conference when I was with my old brokerage and I was just a brand new realtor. And they had asked me to go around the neighborhood. So it was talking about farming. So farm a neighborhood. And I'm like, farming. And this is how ignorant now I was at that stage of my life. That was back in 2000. This is how ignorant. I came back from this big old conference and I had all these ideas. And of course, there's 50 ideas. And of course, what was my, like a lot of the times I would be trying to do all 50 at once. And that's not focusing on that at all. But I remember this one idea, it started speaking to my heart. And the idea was, they said, well, go around and pick a farm area. Now, just remember, this is way back in the day. That's 20 years ago. Lots changed in 20 years, even in my world. So go around the neighborhood and take a picture of everybody's house. Okay. And that was a Kodak film. I had to go get filmed, a little round little disc, and put it in the back of a camera and take the pictures, and no digital then, and put that picture on a calendar. So create a calendar with 12 little, months of the year. Then you take that picture and you glue it to the front of that calendar. And then when you're ready, I'd love to sell your home with your big mugshot on it. And so there was around 5 or 7 steps that I had to do to make this happen. So it really required a lot of focus for me. So now this is another key thing. As I was so focused on this new project, and I wasn't going to give it up. There's all things coming at me, but I was lasered on this one. And people were walking in and they were laughing at me going, oh my God, Dean, this is not how you do real estate. Okay, you got it. This is not what it takes. And when I had so many objections coming at me, and so whatever that idea for you is today, you'll go out into your office sometimes. I mean, and you'll get the feedback about, oh, no, don't do that. Don't do that. So I was getting all that, but that's when I knew I was on the right track. When everybody told me I was insane, and I choose to listen to that intellectual side and focus on that with all my will. And of course, it started with imagination. I had to imagine what this looked like. And my perception, again, I had to engage all 3 of these mental faculties right now to make this project come together. And I was perceiving this whole thing like, you know what, it's, I'm going to put my life into this and it's going to work. And so be it. I went around and I delivered everyone hand by hand to people, and nobody ever throws away a picture of their house. They just don't. So these days you can send out cards, right? Take a picture of their house from Google or whatever, send out cards. These are just a couple little tips. But my point was, I had to be focused on it for around 3 months. So I had to glue little magnets on the corners of these little things. It was so much work. But unconsciously, I didn't really know what I was doing. I just knew that I had to do this to get the results that I wanted. And when I look back at it, that was exactly what I was engaging, those mental faculties. And so when all these got delivered to the houses, the calls started to come in. And who was laughing then? Well, every other agent in town. They never touched that neighborhood for, I'm going to say, 7 years after. It was just my neighborhood. And so these are some of the times when, these are the benefits of being able to focus on an idea and take it through and see it to the end, if you feel that that idea is going to bring you closer to your goal and improve the quality of your life. So that's just the example of how we can introduce that. It's just that simple. Joe, do you have any questions at this point as we're going through what we're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we talk about sort of focus, we talk about will. When I was kind of in my last career in branch management, we came up with the analogy that because every year you do your goal planning, and you'd have 35 goals that you had to hit, right? It wasn't just one specific piece. And they say, okay, guys, so we need you guys to focus on each one, which is impossible. To me, like, you can't focus on more than one thing at a time. I mean, human nature, we're lousy multitaskers.
Right.
So, we used to say, I mean, excuse me for saying this, we used to say focus stood for fuck off because you suck. It was just everything else needs to go. And it was just like that laser vision on one piece.
Yeah.
That's how you achieved a goal. Once that goal was achieved, well, then you moved to the next one, and then same thing, and then the next one. So I really like that analogy of like staring at that dot on the wall,
Yeah.
because again, I
That's an
think
exercise. Yeah.
human nature, we try to focus on everything,
Yeah.
and you can't do that. So Dean, if I was going to ask you, what are 2 or 3 things that people can take away now that are really going to reduce that shiny object syndrome? So number one, right? Person, place, thing. Person, place, book, affirmation.
Yeah.
So having that in, I think, is huge, right? Setting those intentions, having those affirmations. But what do you feel people can put in place now to increase focus or increase will?
To increase, you mean as an exercise?
Yeah,
You mean outside of staring at the dot on the wall?
outside. Yeah, outside of staring at a dot on the wall, what else can people do? What are some recommendations you'd have?
Wow, oh my God, what's so, I guess for me, to help reel that in around the focus is grabbing a book around the idea that you want to start keeping yourself within the realm of that idea. So, if the idea is about, the marketing aspect of your business, I mean, we got to now keep you in on that marketing piece is grabbing the books around the marketing and starting to collaborate with someone that you feel is in the marketing, doing the things that you would love to see there. It's not called plagiarism. This is called being able to help. And anybody, of course, on this, Sims coaching. Thanks for that. I'll have a cup too. So being able to, if you want to focus on that idea, start surrounding yourself with people of the same caliber that's going to help you get there. Having a mastermind group on focus, on whatever that idea could be, and it could be all over the world with Zoom these days. So that would be one of the ideas that I would certainly have. And another one is creating, finding the book that's going to help feed this hunger that you have for that idea. Because if there's an idea out there and you want to focus on it, it's got to become all encompassing versus that, I have 5 ideas, I'm going to play a little bit on each one. And I mean, we're multitasking, but I don't agree with them. I used to think multitasking was a great thing, and I now disagree with that. I've had to change my philosophy on the multitasking thing. I think you can get more results from focusing on one thing. So, put the dot on the wall and then start surrounding yourself where everything you're immersed in, completely on whatever that idea is. So, and I think that will maybe help harness the focus like the magnifying glass. Oh, you got no sound anymore. That's fine. There you go.
Sorry, I said, yeah, I love it. Thanks, Dean.
Okay, good. So really, that's about all I want to tie up in that one today, because I have a story I want to share. And again, it doesn't start out so pretty. And I mean, a lot of this, as we're talking about the other side of the coin, a lot of this is not pretty. And this is the part where we wake up sometimes. And I say we, really meant I woke up sometimes, but I want to say us, because we're here as a collaborative group. But you wake up sometimes and it's not so balanced. And so we want to be able to, I guess, have some tools in our belt to understand that when shit goes south with other things in our life, not just our business, we want to have the tools to pull out. And this particular story is about my family and it's about my son. And so this is a few years ago, and I was blessed at a part of my career. I was earning enough money where I could jump on a plane and go to, a personal development seminar. And so that's where I first wanted to start this story. Has anybody heard of PSI, Personal Success Institute? And they have divisions in Vancouver, and it's just a group of people that are really dedicated to the improvement of the quality of personal growth. And so there's a company called PSI. Their headquarters is in Clear Oaks, California. And they do men's leadership, and they do just group stuff, but they're dedicated to the personal growth. So look them up if you don't mind. I mean, there's other platforms out there that do similar things, but this is the one that I latched onto. One of my mentors, Proctor, and the other mentor was Wayne Dyer. They had both mentioned this, and I thought, man, I got to look into this. And because there's some big players that go down there and they speak, and Anthony Robbins was one of them that showed up for a speech down there once. But they take you and they strip you down to the point where you're pretty much naked, as the sense of all the egos strapped off, and you start understanding who we are as people. And this is a lot of the information that I share with you guys I got from this. And so I've attended this PSI seminars probably 4 or 5 times now over the last 10 years. And there's nothing cheap about it. And that's really good, because if we're going to believe in ourselves and invest in ourselves, this is the kind of information that we want. So I'd have pass on. Matt Chan is what his name is. He's the coordinator out of Vancouver, and they do what's called PSI Basic over there. So you go over for a weekend and you just get a taste. And if you look at some of the readings online, or what how do they, when people scale it, and they give their opinion about what it is. Sometimes people are like, oh my God, it's like a cult. But you go over there and but really, if you want to grow, this is what it's going to take sometimes to start going a little deeper in our lives, right? And also, I sent. So this is how much I love it. I sent Kate for her birthday a package to go there for a weekend. But right now they're not doing it. But when it does come up, I suggest you take a look at it. So while I was at one of these personal success institutes in Clear Oaks, California, I latched on to, I guess, a seminar one day, and they started bringing in this thing called the relationship test. And at that point, my son and I, we were just not on a good path. He was 15 years old, and he was going down the wrong road. I was very busy, and just kind of not really having that relationship that one would want with their son. And what I'm going to share with you, this relationship test, was a series of questions that I picked up at this seminar, and I brought home. And knowing what I know now, I paid, I think it was $10,000 for the week to go down there, and your flights and everything else. I'd have paid them double. And that is the value that I took away from this one. So I'm going to slow it right down when I talk about this, because again, I always want everybody to know that I'm available for any time if anybody ever wants to pick up that phone and have a personal one-on-one and help explain. But so to say the least, I was in a very not close relationship with my son. How did not close? That's a weird way to put it. We were separated, and we were very close in most of our lives. And so when I came home from this seminar, I decided I got nothing to lose here. I'm going to sit my son down and see if this stuff really works. And at that point, Reed, my son, was just he was just out in the world, and he was quite lost. And I wasn't being as attentive as I should have been. And when I was around, as you'll hear in a few moments, the advice that I was giving him was less than perfect. But as a dad and a mom, as we're out there, we know that this raising our children don't come with a manual, as we all know this right now. So these tools that was given to me that day changed our lives forever. So again, it's called the relationship test. So when you can finally sit down with whomever, now this doesn't have to be just about your kid. This could be, your family, your office, your spouse. You could be you and yourself. And so it starts out like this. On a scale of 1 to 10. So this is, I want to do this and just, I want to put myself back where I was with my son that day, Reed. Number 1 is he's got to recognize where you're at. I mean, you both got to agree to this thing. So before you go into this test, so the way I approached my son was like, Reed, I feel our relationship is we're at an all-time low. And I'd like to bring in some tools, if you're open, to help us. Be able to rebuild this relationship. You're only 15, man, and I feel like this it can't get any worse than this. It probably could, but I want this to change. So if you're open to it, we both have to agree that this is going to be without judgment. We're going to ask some really serious, hard questions. It has to be without judgment. It has to be private, and you need to feel safe. So my son has that ability to be open about these kind of things. So I was happy about that. Now, so if he had said no, I don't know what that next question would be, but it's about making sure that, you're both acknowledging that there's a problem. And then you want to make sure that, he really knows that he's safe, especially when it comes to kids. Now, adults, I think we're going to be a little bit different because, I mean, we're all, hopefully everybody's on the same page about trying to be able to, harness the goodness in the relationship. So the first question is this, you guys, on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you feel this relationship is? On a scale of 1 to 10, where do you feel this relationship is? Now, this is the part where it has to be honest, right? And this is where, I thought, oh my God. And so in that particular case, you guys, I had wrote down on a piece of paper, I put down 6, Reed put down 5. Yeah, Reed put down 5. I made some notes. I pulled out my notes this morning from 2014. Beautiful. This is why we take notes. And so then the next question is, I wasn't surprised at that point. I thought, wow, I thought Reed was going to come in at a 6, but he didn't. He came in at a 5. My next question is, then you want to put it out to the other person, because it can't be about you and your opinion and you, because this is not I'm going to get to the bottom of this and I'm going to prove to him I'm right. No, guys, this is where you got to strip it off and leave your ego at the door and let go of any anticipated results from this question, from this act, from this process. Let go of any of the results. This is not about trying to get you a result of a certain kind. This is about you working on and being vulnerable enough to be able to be honest and improve the relationship with the most precious thing on the planet, which is your children. So I usually put it back on me first. So the next question is, Reed, what causes me to be a 5, in your opinion? Because you don't want to start out from your own, because it sets a tone whether you like it or not. And then the next question, then my question to Reed was, well, then Reed, what in your opinion causes you to be a 5? So we're talking about Reed's 5 now. So now the first set of questions is about Reed. So what causes me? So he's going to give his impression of me now, right? To be a 5. And then he has to talk about himself. So Reed, what causes you to be a 5? So in this particular case, I'll just give you the example, you guys, because it's friggin' powerful. So he felt vulnerable enough to share. He goes, Dad, you don't think I'm happy. And so in my brain, I'm thinking, well, you're not. I don't see a smile. All you do is spend your time in your room. Every time I walk in, you shut down. You don't speak to me. You come in, I feel like you treat me like shit, because you come in, you don't say thank you for dinner. And when I say, make up the house rules, I think it's like a green light to do everything in the opposite fashion. So that's how I was seeing it. But I wasn't saying this out loud. So Reed was telling me, he goes, Dad, he says, you think I'm happy. You always come in, or you think I'm unhappy. You always come in and you're trying to make me happy. And so I started to think about this, and I'm like, oh my God. Well, of course, yeah, you're right. And he goes, you know what? I am friggin' happy. And he says, the problem with this, he says, I'm sick of you treating me, like everybody else in the family. I'm not like Kate. And Kate's on the call right now, right? And so he says, you're treating me, he says, because you and Kate, he says, you got a certain personality. And he says, you guys are always, you're laughing, you're outgoing. He says, I'm not that guy. So he says, stop trying to make me something that I'm not. He says, every time that you guys go out and you want to do something, he says, you drag me with you, thinking that, oh, you're going to cheer me up. Because why? Because I'm not smiling? I don't need to smile, he says, to prove that I'm happy to myself. He unleashed on me, you guys, that day because of that one question. Now remember, I got 2 questions out so far. I got one, what's this, on a scale of 1 to 10, where's a relationship? What makes me, what in your opinion, Reed, what makes me a 5? He unleashed on me. And he says, I'm sick of you, drag me out, and he says, and take me all these places and trying to make me in your guys' happiness bubble. I'm like, whoa. And I mean, again, at this point, this is the thing to remember, folks, when we're in these conversations. This is not your time to go, well, listen, I do this because, no, this is where you shut up. This is where you shut your mouth and you allow this process to take place. And that was hard for me because I'm not a mouth shut up guy. I'm just not. So he was saying all these things that were true. And this was true to him. Doesn't matter if they were true to me. This is where, now that question alone, Reed, what about me makes you feel like this relationship is at a 5. And so then he went on, and he never stopped. And I loved it, because he was usually not this guy. But when you have the right atmosphere and you really have the desire to improve the quality of your relationships, this is what will happen. And it happened. And so he went on to say that, he says, Dad, do you have any ideas? He says, you actually call my friends over when I don't even allow you. I don't want friends around. You think I'm stuck in my room playing video games unhappy. You call my friends over. And he says, you surprise me thinking that you're doing something nice. He says, what do you think? I'm stupid? If I want to have my friends over, I'll call them over. And he was right. I used to see Reed go in his room for hours. I mean, part of this is just being a teenager, and I kind of forgot that. Kate wasn't that way. She was always out, and she was just, oh my God, right? All over the place. I mean, she had a different energy. All of our kids are going to be different. We have to treat them different. They're different human beings. And so I would see he's in his room. So I think, I'm going to surprise Reed. I'm going to invite his 3 best friends over, and I'm just going to bring them right in and go, hey, look who I brought over. I'll be a hero. It completely backfired because I wasn't paying attention. So he told me all about that too. He says, that day you brought my friends over, he says, I hated you more than I ever hated you. So he says, everything I could do then to be despiting you, he says, I thought, well, I'm going to let him have it. So there you go. Now that's what one question brought out. And understand this, when we're about to do this test, have an open mind. Be prepared to throw away all the things that you think that you know. And listen, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. This is the time, you guys, to listen with the intensity and have all your focus, just like a cat would wait for a mouse. You stay there and you listen with that intensity. That cat won't move. You listen with that intensity. So then the second question was, I asked Reed, well, what causes, now Reed, so then I asked him that, well, so Reed, what do you think causes you to be a 5? So now we're still talking about his result. So Reed, what do you think causes you to be a 5? And it was simple after that. After that first question, he started coming back down to earth and goes, well, I'm a 5. He says, because I don't like you, because you treat me all this way. He says, that's why I'm a 5. I want to have anything to do with you when you're treating me and you're not listening and you're not accepting me for who I am. So he brought all this out. So you see where these questions now can go? Wow. So then you can reverse that around. So then all of a sudden he gets to ask the questions if you want, what about you causes me to be a 6, Dad? Right? So then you do the whole thing in reverse. So then what about you that causes you to be a 6? So then I had to say, oh, wow. So then I had to start answering some tough questions. Well, Reed, for me, I always equate happiness with smiling and being interactive. And so I had to tell him how I felt. And then the more I started speaking out loud, I felt like he'd become my therapist. And it was a good thing. And then he felt like he was heard. So that's the 2 rounds of questioning. So then you can come back and say this. So then the third section of questions is, Reed, what can I do to take this relationship from a 5 towards a 10? Now I let him make that answer first. This seems really simple, but I'm going to tell you, this was the round of questioning, because now I had to pay attention. Now you have the ability in your conscious mind to accept, reject, or neglect any idea that comes into your head. We already talked about this. Now you can blend the right questions with the intellectual side of you, and you can start coming up with some answers. Dad, Reed, what do I have to do in your opinion to take this from a 5 to a 10? So then I wanted to hear what he said. He says, you can leave, this is word for word, you can leave me the fuck alone. Now that's how we started out the conversation. I said, okay, what does that mean? You can leave me alone. Wow. And I said, well, that's not going to happen. So then, you got to work through this. And at the end of the day, he says, Dad, I need you to start asking me more questions about, hey, listen, how are you feeling? Don't assume that I'm unhappy. What can I do? Ask me more questions. He goes, don't just assume. He says, please get to know me a little better so you understand who I am. I'm not like everybody else in this family. I'm different. I mean, guys, so my new reaction to my son immediately changed. Now we have you can either change that or not. You can go back to your old ways and expect to get different results. That's called an idiot, right? Or I had to listen to this boy. I put on this round of questioning. This relationship test was for me to increase the quality of my relationship with my son. He says, Dad, you got to leave me alone more. He says, you got to trust me. You got to do this. So these were all the things. And so then the next round of questionings will read, what do you think you can do? So here's the last. So what do you think you can do to improve the quality of this relationship? So this was a big one. So this is him now starting to compromise with me. He says, I'll tell you what I'll do. He says, I could cut you some slack. This is his words. This is word for word. I can cut you some slack. He says, I know that you want me out. And he says, I know that we're a family unit. When we go to our friends' houses, he says, why not just I'll come with you. He says, no, I will put a smile on. He says, because I know this is what you want. But he says, I want to be able to go home early. I don't want to have to stay through these dinners and all this. And this is still with our best friends. And I thought, wow, I didn't realize you didn't enjoy it. Not that I don't enjoy it. He says, I like doing my thing. I'm not like you guys. I don't need that to feed my soul. He said, if everybody disappeared on the planet right now, he says, and I was like Will Smith in that one movie, I am something. And he says, I would be so okay, he says, with just living on an island by myself. That brought that out. I am legend. Right? So, I mean, all the things that I learned from this relationship. And so, you know what? We started that very moment. So that very Sunday when we came to go to my best friend Dave's house to watch football and eat chicken and chips, every Sunday, that was our thing to my best friends. Reed came over like he always did. And he left a little early. And I said, hey, listen, man, I really appreciate the fact that you came over. Guys, these questions with our relationship, whoever it's going to be, this can bring out so much goodness. And the quality of my son's relationship and I right now, and we worked on it. And we worked on this hard. And this didn't happen overnight, because guess what? We still went through our shit. This did not happen overnight. And then at the end of all this, one of the questions can be, what have you been withholding? What have you been withholding? And then what have I been withholding? You put it on the table. I didn't say this to you, Reed, because I thought that when I first divorced from your mom, I've been trying to make up for lost time. And I just thought that I didn't want to be too hard on you, Reed. I thought that you would commit suicide maybe one day if I was to be too hard on you. And I mean, all these things, I had to tell him how I was feeling. Then when he started understanding how I was feeling, well, then his came out. So that's the gist, you guys, of the relationship test. And this can't be left alone. So anybody that's important enough in your life that you're going to do business with, sleep with, commit to, your family, ask some these are hard questions, but when you feel that there's a need in your life for improvement, and this is a tool. And I only share this because it really worked for me. And I mean, it worked for me beyond measure. And I believe it saved my sons and my relationship. And he's like, this is 9 years ago. Like, no, he's not that long. This is 7 years ago. And it's been, I'm not going to say it's been rosy, but on a scale of 1 to 10, we've never went below an 8 since. And I ask him this every few months. I'll sit down, I'll go, hey, how you doing? And we have a little handshake and we do our little thing and hug each other. We tell each other we love each other. Go, hey, where are you at? And so now it's to a point where it's such a beautiful thing. And so he'll still come up some days and says, you know what, I wouldn't, you can certainly back off. I'm okay. And so this is a big one. On a scale of 1 to 10, where's this relationship? So I think that's a big one. Joe, on a scale of 1 to 10, where's our relationship?
I think our relationship's like an 8.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I think
and so what would I have to do right now to make that a 10?
What would you have to do to make that a 10? I don't think there's really much you can do. I'm just feeling like, I don't know, man. I like being in the same room with you. I think you and I come up with these crazy ideas, and there's a little bit lost on Zoom when we kind of feel each other's energy when we're planning these out. So there's nothing that you can do. I think it's just situational.
What about you? Is there anything you can do to make that a 10?
I could probably reach out a little bit more.
Okay, cool. I'd love to be a 10 with you, man. I'd love to be a 10 with you.
Yeah, man, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, and sometimes once you start using these tools to that level, I mean, we're able to put each other in check a lot, because sometimes, guys, we're not where we think we are sometimes. And it's important, if we're going to be in collaboration with our business partners, and I've done this to business partners as well. And so really cool, guys. Now you can take this and you can take certain parts of this and actually work with your clients with this. Now imagine after you've listed their house and it hadn't sold, and you want to go back for the 3-month, I got to re-sign this listing. Hey, client, listen, this is kind of weird, and I'm sure not many of your realtors in the past are going to ask you these kind of questions, but you know what? This relationship for me is very valuable. And I want to do a little test to make sure that I'm on par. And if I'm not, I want you to be able to help me understand how I can serve you better. And so guys, imagine using this relationship test with a client to say, hey, you got 3 months in, you know, what can I do with this listing with you guys to make this like, you know, a 10? And so these are tools. And so again, this one for me was probably one of the bigger ones in my life that I've taken away from my personal growth journey. And it's beautiful. So I hope, you know, that this can be a tool for you as well. Go home today and try it with someone in your life and just say, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, baby, where am I at? If you feel like you're in that vulnerable, it just depends if you guys were arguing this morning or not. Because if you end up being a 2, well, hey, I'll give you my number. So I have a number of a really good therapist for that too. Because I can't help. But so this is why I wanted to share that today, because it changed the trajectory. And I want to know, it's not all just about, you don't have to use it with family. You can use it with your business partners, with your, you know, with everybody that's in your life that you value the relationship and you'd like to keep and be vulnerable with it. So that's the bigger one for today. And I'd love to hear some stories if anybody comes back and you have anything to share for sure. And for me, that's a big one. So today we've talked about will, we've talked about the relationship test. You know, we know where our awareness is at. You know, what are we reading these days? If we want to change the level of our awareness, we're going to have a mentor. We're going to have a quiet place to go so we can meditate and get the answers right out of the universe from your God, Allah, Buddha. You know, we need to have our goal cards with us so we can have an affirmation, right? And then what are you reading for a book, right? You know, what's your book this week? So when you're understanding, grasp the power to visualize your heart's desire and hold it with your will, all your will, you know, it will produce for you all the results, right? Based on the law of vibration. So again, holding it with your will. So that's what that came right out of this book. That's Genevieve B. Rand. And that quote came out of this book. Yeah. When you can visualize what it is you want and hold it with your will. And she was talking about her mental faculty of will. Hold it. It will produce whatever it is you friggin' want in your life. So that's where we're at today, folks.
And Dean, just like that, you and I are back up to a 10.
Ha! Yes. I love it. Thank you guys. I mean, it's my pleasure always to be here. And if there's a little nugget that helps you improve the quality of your life, that's my job on the planet. And so, and I love to share it. And if anybody wants to go a little deeper on this stuff, my number is, you know, you got my number, not hard to find. And again, Joe's sick of sending out goal cards, but we got to get your goal card. I mean, you know, let's get on those goals. And we have the ability now in our mind and our conscious mind to be able to control how we feel so we can produce the results that we want. And now this is, you know, you're using the spiritual side of yourself. And that's really cool.
Love it, man. So I know we got a couple minutes left. Needed that you and I just hang back for a few.
Sure.
If anybody wants to pop off, more than welcome. We'll see you guys same time next week. If anybody wants to hang out, ask Dean any questions. Maybe Dean, you could hang out for a couple minutes.
Yeah, sure. Oh, I'm hanging out here, man. I'm Joe's gonna have to beat me off with a crowbar before I leave. Thank you for sharing this knowledge, Dean. You're welcome, Joseph Langdon, Bob Dahl, for sure, man. You're so welcome. Kate, I am legend. I love it. Yeah, the PSI, you guys, is a great